Hey, thanks for dropping by to the Planners on Purpose podcast, created by Naomi Tucker, CMP. Now, this space is for the event planners to encourage and empower you so that you can fully live your life on purpose. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe so you get future shows. Now, here she comes, your host, Naomi.
Many times what causes us so much struggle in our lives is getting through some of life's changes. I don't know about you, but I've gone through plenty. And each and every time I go through a tough time in my life, I always feel as though I'm never going to get through it. I struggle. I struggle with understanding just the mere fact that the change is happening and understanding what my next step is going to be within that struggle that I'm going through. And maybe that's you too. And if it is, today I wanted to talk a bit about getting through these life's changes and transitions and perhaps give you some insight on how I've gotten through some of them, and maybe it would be helpful for you too. For those that do not know me, my name is Naomi Tucker. I'm a business strategist and burnout prevention coach. And, me becoming a burnout prevention coach is somewhat of a transition too. It wasn't always that. For 25 plus years, probably going on 30, I've been in event management, and I still am. Still love events, still love to plan events. However, I gradually was kind of pulled into helping to support event professionals as they go through changes, helping them to navigate stressful situations, overwhelm, and scale their careers when it may feel like it's difficult based off of their situation. We all know that getting through life's transitions can be a bit messy. And when things get messy, what typically happens is there's lots of worry, there's lots of stress, and there can be a ton of overwhelming situations that we have to navigate. Now, some may say that we have to go through life's changes, but others say we get to take on life's changes and overcome them. Regardless of how you see it, it's important to know that it just can be plain tough. And it can be just so tough that you don't know where you're going and how you're going to get to the other side. I'm a woman of faith, so for me, I always see a period of time in my life where I'm going through a hard time as the valley. And when you think about the valley, you think of yourself between two mountains, and that's typically how I envision it, that I'm trying to find my way from the top of one mountain and on the top of another. But when you look at it this way, there's one important aspect that comes up, is that when you're in the valley, you can be vulnerable. You can be a walking target, especially depending on where you are and the people around you. And many times you have to trust that you have everything in you to get through to your destination. So if you're in a situation where you're in a personal valley, here are some tips that have helped me. So the first tip that has helped me is to create space for the journey. Now, this is one that can be pretty tough to reconcile, especially if we're going through something very trying, like, having a tough time at work lately, or maybe your teenagers are going through hormone changes and you have to deal with everything that comes with that. But many times we're walking through very dark places, like death of a loved one or loss of a job. When you're going through heavy things, especially things that no one could ever imagine, many times that is really an automatic requirement, well, I think, of just making everything just needs to fall off your plate. Creating space for you to walk through, because it is a valley and it's hard to just stay in one place. At some point, you'll have to put one foot in front of another and get through it. It isn't always easy. You definitely will remember your journey and you'll remember the people and players involved in your journey. But many times, creating this space for you to move forward is going to be a necessity. So I would just say, if you are going through something like a tough time, to create space for it, especially in your work life. If there's a lot on your plate and you know you're having to deal with something big in your personal life, I would say that it's okay to have work take a little bit of a backseat so that you can create space to go through what you're going through. The second one I have for you is have a confidant. Have someone that you're talking to. I am so thankful for my family and for friends in my life that can hear me out when I need a listening ear. And when you're going through something, a really tough life change, or you're getting through a hard time, it's so helpful to have someone for you to talk to. And it's important to note that not everyone can hold space for you like you need them to. And that's okay. You're really going to have to navigate some of the waters of your friendships to find that friend. And I always believe that there's always just that person, maybe it's one or two, or maybe it's a group, that it's like your literal life raft that you can hold on to as you're going through some turbulent waters. Find someone that can help listen to you and help give you some rest, because really what happens is when you can confide in somebody and talk to someone and be vulnerable and open up your heart, really that helps you to just rest a little bit easier that someone has heard, right? So we've talked a lot about vulnerability, and really vulnerability can be a superpower. So having someone to talk to can really be very helpful for you. The third insight I have for you is to go at your own pace. Everyone has their own way of processing things, and it's important to know that it's okay for you to go at your own pace through this transition in this period of time. There are some people that can get knocked down and boom, get right back up again. There are other people that need a little bit of support as they're getting back up. And frankly, there are some situations that just really knock you out. It's a TKO situation. So it does take some time to come back. But when you do, go at your own pace. The important thing is that you are moving forward. So definitely move forward, go at your own pace, but continue to progress. That is the most important thing. Try not to just stay in that one place. I know it can be very sometimes comforting at some point in time to do so, but you don't want to get stuck there. You want to continue to move forward. And then finally, I have for you to find your silver lining. Now, there's always a silver lining, and it's not necessarily saying a positive thing about your situation. That's not what I'm talking about, but it's really that what you're going through, you can get through. So even if the silver lining is that you will get through, then that's what it is. I always like to think of it that there's always sun that shines on a rainy day. The sun is somewhere, it's above the clouds. Embrace that when you start to see some of the hints of you coming to the end of, let's say, the valley, that you're coming to the end to your destination, that's a silver lining. And like I've mentioned, it doesn't mean that you forgot about the people, the places, the things, or what happened, or have forgotten where you were before, but there is promise that you've overcome that struggle and that you moved through it to the point where you can really just see a path again. And that can represent you starting to move forward more easily, and you are well on your way. If at any point while you're going through a process of transition that you feel as though you need additional help, that you are in a place that you really cannot come out of, it's important to know that there are resources to be able to help you. And I will leave a couple of resources for you in the description, just to make sure that you are taking care of you, taking care of yourself, and taking care of your mental health. It's important for you to reach out beyond your network if you really feel as though you need additional support during this time. I hope this was helpful for you, because I've been through so many situations and transitions where things weren't happening as I expected them to be, or things just came out of left field and I had to really deal with them. And sometimes it was devastating, and having to walk through something devastating can be tough, and it can present a whole other pressure on your life. So in my life, I was also managing all things, wearing all the hats and doing all the things. And all of these things can really culminate into this perfect storm. And sometimes it's not necessarily a good place, but you can move through it and you can make decisions to create space for it and make decisions to confide in someone. You can take it at your own pace and really start to see the silver lining in your journey. Again, I hope this was helpful. I thank you so much for listening, and please stay on purpose.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button and tell us how much you enjoyed the show by leaving a message in the comments. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.